Greetings, fellow actors and actor wannabes and people who are just curious about acting. This is The Lazy Actor, the podcast that goes through all the great acting books in history. Takes out all the key learnings, all the stuff you need to know so you don't have to because you are lazy. You're so lazy that instead of working for Instacart, you're probably just using Instacart. You lazy, lazy bastards. But anyway, we are here once again with Jennifer Vallance and Tim McClarty, and the book is called Audition by Michael Shurtleff. One of the, can I say quintessential? Is that the right word? Jen, you're British. You know what that word means.
Sure.
One of the quintessential acting books that all actors should read, but you don't have to because we are doing it for you. First, though, let's say hi to everybody. Hello, Mr. Tim McClarty. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. I am wunderbar, and I'm so excited to have Jennifer on here because she was on last week, and I learned a lot.
Jen,
my English accent really sucks.
Sweet introduction. Thank you.
No, your English accent. What did she say? She said something. It was worse than saying it sucks. She was like a good effort or something.
Yes. Ouch. Ooh, to the heart.
That's right. And you know what British accent wouldn't be successful without a little bit of judgment. And speaking of judgment, the lovely Jennifer Judge Vallance is here with us today. Madam Vallance, how are you?
Oh my goodness. And there I was going to start talking about three-dimensional acting again. And Yvonne just pipped me to the post with a bit of two-dimensional, what's that called? Stereotyping.
Stereotyping
Yeah.
and type. It's stereotype in the real world and typecast in the acting world.
Try and watch The Crown and not cry. That's all I can say.
Oh, I love The Crown.
I've tried to watch The Crown like 3 or 4 times and just kept wondering, like, why does anyone care? Oh, I'm so rich and here's my problems. Also, nothing fucking happens. Oh, look, are we going to have another 20-minute conversation between the same two people over? Oh, great. Let's have another. Oh my God. I don't even know why people watch that. I don't know. I've tried. I've tried.
Let me just say, try and find something Olivia Colman is in that is not worth watching. She's incredible.
It's true. I think it's time I was cast in.
You're supposed to be on my side here. What's going on?
Sorry, man.
We're having a new producer next week. That's it. We'll get some other staff member from Radio. Tim McClarty, ladies and gentlemen, radioradio.com for all your audio-visual needs. Jennifer Vallance, it's good to see you again. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me back. I enjoy talking about this book. I enjoy talking about the whole industry, not just acting, but I'm actually studying producing podcasts myself. We're recording our first one next week. And if I enjoy the process, I am going to be the biggest podcast producer in the history of podcasts.
What is your podcast going to be about? Can you tell us? Can you give us a name?
I can't give you the name of it yet, but it's going to be on the subject of creating women's wealth. So it's not just for women, but it's kind of women's experiences and stories and women who are just astounding, even some of them very young, and how they are working towards their own plans. And
I have a good guess for you. We'll talk about it afterward. I have someone who has been a very successful female entrepreneur.
Great.
And is that something? Look at how uninterested. Did you see that, Tim? Jen just went, yeah, make it about you again, Yvonne.
No, I'm totally interested. I love it. I mean, and especially for performers. I mean, we often need some kind of passive income and or another way of producing an income, especially during
there you
COVID.
go. And, once you know about it, Jennifer, we'll have you back on the show. And we'll talk about. We'll spend a little time talking about your podcast.
Yeah,
because if there's anything the world needs, it's another podcast.
Podcasts.
And I say that as someone who's trying to build a podcast. Hey, we have upwards of 11 listeners now. It's been a year. We got almost 11 listeners.
Double digits.
We're on a roll.
Double digits, baby.
We're double digits, baby.
My mom listened because I was on last week. So.
Ooh, hello, Jennifer Vallance's mother. So we're going to start off today with an impromptu acting challenge. It's time for an acting challenge. Last week we had Jen show us her best American accent and Tim do his best British accent. This time, what kind of an actor would I be? What kind of a host would I be if I didn't put myself out on the line as well?
Yes.
I've selected a couple of scenes here, and while you're talking here, I might just quickly find another scene from The Crown because apparently it's good. I'm so rich. Oh, I'm so sorry. Look what will people think? Me, 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 me. I think that's pretty much.
People
Is
have
that a
no
good summary
idea
for the
how
show?
hard we work.
You know what?
Huh? Look
I
how hard. Look how hard life is. Me, 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 me.
And actually, I was talking last week about the my new favorite devastating film to watch, Pieces of a Woman, I think it was called.
Yes.
The
Is that
actress
British?
who No, I don't think so. But the lead actress also was one of the actresses portraying Princess Margaret in The Crown. I believe she was in the first couple of seasons. Really astounding work, though. Yeah.
Oh, what is her name?
You know what's funny? I'll say this. Sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to remember her name because she's very well known. She used to be married to was it Danny Elfman or okay? I've got to find her now.
So here's
Yeah,
the thing.
no,
We're gonna do a little acting / accent challenge. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna pick out a couple of scenes. They're all British movies, and what we're gonna do is essentially Tim and I are gonna try and do this to the best of our ability. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and do this with a British accent. And then Jennifer is going to help us a little bit because Jennifer is a coach. She's an acting coach and she's also an accent coach. And we're going to see if Jennifer can help us in the moment improve our terrible British accents. How does that
Wow,
sound,
no
Jennifer?
pressure, no pressure there.
do my best, do my best. So what I'm
You
going
don't
to
have
do
to.
is that I'm going to be
amazing.
moving you towards what I call kind of a mid. So it won't be quite like The Crown, and it's not going to be down there, dirty old Cockney London. It's not going to be that one either.
Oh,
It's going to be something generally
I'm sorry.
called.
And do you have? You mean you're giving us a scene? I have a scene already. I thought.
No, I'm not going to
Okay.
give you a scene. I'm just saying that's the kind of accent that I'm going to be
Mm.
coaching. Is kind of what I call a mid.
A mid.
So
Oh.
A mid.
because a lot of people assume that a general British accent is an RP, but it really isn't. It's more like mine is in the middle. Mine is the most widely used kind of middle. I hate saying class, but middle class accent. So that's what we're going to aim for, kind of an estuary.
All right.
I feel like that middle class accent is such a British thing to say. So
I don't know
it
what
fits
else to
beautifully.
say. What would you call it?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm just going to start off this whole thing by saying accents are hard. Accents are hard. And it's not, and here's the thing, I feel, okay, controversial point of view. There are way too many British people who get props for doing English accents really well. And I don't know if that's true. And I'm going to use the example of The Walking Dead. Okay. So many British actors on that show. And here's the thing. If you are a fan of The Walking Dead, I invite you to watch this again before you send your hate mail. But let's tag this with The Walking Dead so we get Walking Dead fans, okay? Because The Walking Dead is a stupid, terrible show. It has been since season 3. I said it. Tim, boom, controversy.
And yet
more
you
viewers.
watched it. You watched
Here's the
3
thing.
seasons, yeah.
For some reason, if you watch a show, watch any show, and The Walking Dead is a really good example of this, where everyone speaks normally, like we just have a normal North American accent, and then one person for some reason is talking like this all the time. And I will show you a British actor. The main guy on that show was from where was he from? Atlanta. And for some reason, he was the only one who had this accent the whole time. He was talking like this his wife, his kids, nobody had that accent. Watch the most recent episode, the most recent season with the girl, with the alpha with the shaved head. And for some reason, she was talking like this and I'm like, and the second I hear these accents, I'm like, I look these people up. I'm like, this person's for sure British. I'm just British.
Jennifer, thoughts?
And I say that not to degenerate. I don't know. You know the word I'm saying. Jen, you're British. You know the word. Denigrate. Thank you. I don't say that to denigrate these people because accents are hard. I'm just saying accents are hard. And for some reason, in the same way that when we think of a British person, we always want to do a Cockney accent. All these British people get away with being from the South. Like always. Always. I would say the only exception is the guy from the doctor guy. I don't know the names of things. You guys know the names of things. The doctor guy who's an asshole.
Doctor
and
Who?
He had a cane. No, the doctor guy. He was a British guy. Hugh Laurie. Hugh Laurie, is that it?
Oh, yeah.
He was a doctor on
Yeah.
a TV show.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, so I put that all.
I must admit, I mean, I'm a Hugh Laurie fan for sure, but I know there was a lot of talk about his brilliant American accent. To me, it just sounded really phony, but it is hard to do
It's hard.
accents for sure.
So, dear
I have
listener,
some tips in my
for
mind
your
that
audio pleasure. So,
Okay,
say
let's
that again,
see.
Jennifer.
I have some tips that I think might help you, though, to
All
start
right.
off. I can't wait to
So
hear
we're going to
this.
start off with a scene. Here it is, Tim,
Mhm.
in the chat. There it is. You're going to be Daniel,
All right.
and I will be Sam. Okay? Let me know when you're ready, Tim.
All right. I'm going to cold read it. I just want to say that up front.
Oh, yes, and I'm also cold reading this. This is part of the fun.
Okay.
Is we're exercising our acting muscle. You're Daniel, and I'm
All
Sam.
right. But are we doing accents or not?
We are doing. Tell you what, let's do it once without accents, just so we get it through, and then
All right.
we'll do it with accents, and Jen will give us a little coaching, and then we'll do it a third time with accents.
Okay. All right. So without accents, here we go. So let's go. We can definitely crack this. Remember, I was a kid once too. So come on. It's something at school, right?
Yeah.
Aha. Good. Good. And what does he feel about you?
She doesn't even know my name, and even if she did, she despises me. She's the coolest girl in school, and everyone worships her because she's heaven.
Good. Good. Well, basically you're fucked, aren't you?
And that's the scene.
Obviously
All
not
right.
from The Crown.
Not from The Crown, because if it was from The Crown, it's like, look at me, I'm so rich, my problem.
I feel like you're doing a South Park version of The Crown when you do that, but whatever.
I feel like I'm doing a better version of The Crown because that show sucks.
Oh man.
Okay, so first of all,
no, I'm kidding. If you have problems sleeping, please watch The Crown.
Disagree.
so
Disagree.
first of all, with accents, a lot of it is in placement. So,
okay. Well, you're going to give us tips now? Okay.
Yeah, we have a lot of equipment. So, if you think about your own accent, a Canadian accent is kind of, if you think of where the sound lives inside your mouth, it's kind of in the middle. American tends to be far back. British is the opposite, in the front. So, I don't know if you've watched Game of Thrones. So,
sure. Yep.
The actor who plays Tyrion, who's quite amazing, I didn't know that he wasn't British, but I did notice
he's American.
That there was something about the way that he spoke, and he brings all of the sound right in the front, and it's sort of like that all of the time. And then one day, as he was talking, he said, blah, 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 war. And I went, war? Looked him up. Oh my goodness, he's an American. I mean, everybody else knew except me. And then I realized that it was really helping him to do a really good RP accent, was to really move that sound to the front. So let's take the first sentence.
Well, Jen, do you want us to first do it, and then you can give us some stuff on it?
Let's do a crappy job first, and then
okay,
she can coach us.
Oh, if you have to.
All
right, here we go, Tim.
So this is a British accent, then.
So, but just think about moving it forward, just to start with, so we don't have to go through too much pain here.
So let's go. We can definitely crack this. Remember, I was a kid once too. So come on. Someone at school, right?
Yeah.
Ah, good. And what does he feel about you?
Well, she doesn't even know my name. And even if she did, she despises me. She's the coolest girl in school, and everyone worships her because she's heaven.
Good. Well, basically you're fucked then, aren't you?
Okay, so this is what I see a lot with my with people who are doing a British accent. They're going for kind of the Oliver Twist sound, where it's either,
please, sir,
it's either the Cockney or it's the bosses. It's the people that speak in this sort of
during Christmas. Oliver walked down the street.
But it's
where
very
he saw
hard.
a beautiful apple.
That's why I like to start with the mid, and then once you've kind of mastered that one, then you can elevate it to the higher accents, or you can sort of bring it down and dirty with the lower accents. So with this one, I would say let's talk about placement. If you move all the sound to the very front, so it's almost like you're producing the sound right in 6 inches in front of your mouth. If you imagine that the sound is manifesting here rather than in the middle of your mouth, it makes everything come forward a little bit. If you can at least get your head around that feeling.
Okay.
So then say just your first line each. Or say,
all right, I'm going to do a different scene because I feel like that scene wasn't a good one. So we're just going to put you on the spot, Tim.
Okay.
Boom, different scene. There you go. I'll be Parky and you be Billy Mack.
All right.
Okay,
we'll
so you're both just going to do Parky's first line and try and say it with moving the sound forward.
Okay. Well, this must be very exciting for you. Fighting for the Christmas number one. How's it looking so far?
Because when you said must, it wasn't forward. If you move the sound forward,
must.
It's still in
this
sound.
Must.
Must.
Can you say the word?
Must.
It's
like M-A-H. Must. As soon as you bring the sound forward, you can't say it like you did. And that's why I work with that first of all. So think of always keeping the sound forward.
So I was trying to bring it all forward. I was trying to talk in the front of my mouth. But Tim, you go real quick. You try the line.
This must be a very exciting moment for you. Fighting for the Christmas number one.
Oh, I wish you could all see how unimpressed Jen.
You
know, like when you don't even start with good job or okay, that was great. Like it's just so here is the problem. Like right away. All right.
Well, I'm also thinking of our listeners who.
This must be a very exciting moment for you. Fighting for the Christmas number one. How's it looking so far?
And I feel that you both have this tendency to, like a lot of people, to want to go to the crown, kind of. Philip, are you going to Polo today, Philip? Whereas there's only certain places where you would need that accent. Most of the time, you're going to not need that accent. So, unless you're in a Christmas movie with a prince, and then often you do need that accent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God, Hallmark is ruining Christmas.
So just work on bringing the sound forward and
all right. Well, let's do this
not
one more time.
So high class. Bring the snootiness down a bit.
All right. So let's do this again. Let's have Jen do it. Then Tim's going to do it. Then Jen's going to do it. Then I'm going to do it, and we'll call it out. We'll see. Okay. So we can hear it a couple of times.
Parky. Can you hear how the sound is coming up there? Parky. So what's Tim, what you're doing
Hold on. Jen, let's hear you do the whole thing. Let's hear you do it.
I know, but it's so let the sound be a little bit more relaxed, but in the front. Don't compress it, because then you're getting all the high class stuff. We're trying not to do that, darling. Okay, so this must be a very exciting moment for you. We'll just leave it at that. This must be a very exciting moment for you.
This must be a very exciting moment for you.
Yvonne?
I thought you were. Can you say it one more time?
This must be a very exciting moment for you.
This must be a very exciting moment for you.
Okay, you both failed miserably.
Oh, I was going to say he didn't suck.
Oh!
No, Tim, I felt that yours really had opened up more. Just relaxing. You've got to kind of relax everything out of your muscle memory habits, right? And then we rebuild from there.
All right. Well, let us. We will say it as. I will invite everyone to please check out YouTube to look at the face of disappointment that Jennifer Vallance had the entire time we did this exercise.
I don't think.
Yeah, this is great. No, I haven't seen that look since my last girlfriend left me. So thank you very much for that, Jennifer Vallance.
You're welcome.
But before you move on,
But anyway, that was a fun exercise, and it's something that I want to work on. And so maybe we'll have you back again, and we'll practice, Tim, and then we'll wait.
Remember,
Come back.
I'm doing a tap
Yes.
class.
March the 4th, virtual tap. It's going to be all English accent tap.
Right.
excellent.
You can find out more at theactorsplace.org. We'll talk about that later. But for right now, let's go to the book, Audition by the mighty Michael Shurtleff. It is a book that I've always, like the first book I've read. It's a great, impactful book. It's a really good book. And we are on Guidepost 11. And again, it is a great book with lots of stuff in it. I feel as I was reading this, though, right around now, there's only one more. There's 11 and 12, and then we're done the guideposts. This is really where he's giving this a name, but in the actual gameplay and role playing, that's the name of the guidepost, game playing and role playing. It really is just reiterating in other ways stuff he's already talked about. I feel like the 12 guideposts could have been maybe 10. But that's just my humble opinion. But let's get started. Jen, if you were going to summarize this chapter into one or two sentences, what would you say?
I'd say remember in your own life that you act differently when you're around certain people, whether you know them or not. And I think that that's what he means by like what he calls role playing. I would call, well, I act this way when I'm talking to my mom, and I act this way when I'm talking to my friend, and I act this way when I'm talking to my teacher. I don't think of them as roles. I think of them as all different.
Hold on, Jen. I'm going to jump in. Before we get into it, it's a one or two sentence summary.
That was my.
So give it to us in one or two sentences. Yeah, I know. It's very British of you. No, but like,
darling,
try one.
Thank you.
Darling. I like. What was the first thing you said? Because I thought that was really good.
Oh, that we're just different. We all have different parts of us, and we present ourselves in a certain way with certain people.
Boom. We are different people depending on who we're in front of. That's what I was going to say. We are different people depending on who we're talking to.
We're almost agreeing on something.
I know. This is crazy.
It's weird.
We agree on a lot, Jennifer. We just explain things differently. That's all.
I think
that's why I wanted you on the show.
Your British accent. I think that's what's bringing it out.
I'm going to be honest.
I want to agree with everything.
I think you're giving me a bit more credit for that accent, to be honest with you. I'm just going to say that out loud. We'll let the people decide. If you're
Prince Charles.
You think I could play Prince Charles? Okay.
As soon as I said that, I realized that was a really stupid thing to say.
Yes. No, I would love to play Prince Charles. Hey, I have a friend of mine who got a part just because she looked like, what's her face? Meghan Markle? Is that it? Meghan Markle?
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, she looks a lot like her, and she just did like a Hallmark movie for like the story of them meeting and stuff. Anyway, let's get back down to this. You are different people depending on who you are. Another way I summarize this whole chapter is, and this is for all our actors, every character plays several roles. Every character plays several roles. And I'm going to go back to an example from Jennifer Vallance, actor on Designated Survivor, where she played British ambassador. Was that it?
UK representative, darling.
UK representative, excuse me. UK representative. And, you touched on a few things last week that I thought about for this week. And what you said things like, if you're the UK representative, and let's suppose that you're in the room with the ambassador, you're playing more, you're like, they're a superior to you. So you'd be playing the role of the lower ranked individual. But let's suppose you're talking to your secretary and your three interns, you would be playing the high status role, and they would be playing the roles of the individual. Then you go home, and suppose you have 2 kids, you're playing the role of the mother, and the way you communicate with them is different, right? And suppose you are in a relationship with you're divorced, you're playing a different role with the ex-husband. You know what I mean? And the best way I could conceptualize this from our day-to-day is, if you've ever gone back to, let's say, friends and see some friends from high school or friends from university, you have a tendency to start becoming that person you were then, even if you don't want to be. So if you were like in your social group, if you were the weird one, you would start doing that weird stuff again, because you just can't help but fill that role when you're in that social group. And that's what I think he's getting at here.
Situations where, when you, especially with family dynamics, why it's always so loaded, it's because of all the history that's there. And you try and go to a family dinner thinking it's not going to be like that this time.
Oh,
How long?
And he says here, it helps an actor to ask him or her, he always says himself, let's say their self, themself, in each scene. What is the game I'm playing in this situation? What role do I assume in order to best play this game? So let me go through my family. Number one, with my Aunt Silva, I'm a bully. I love to bully my Aunt Silva. Doesn't matter what she says, I just lose my mind. Around my brother, I'm sagely and a constant ball buster. Tim, you think I give you a hard time? My brother is an emotional wreck. Emotional wreck, right? With my parents, we're very estranged, so I'm super standoffish, and I play a very kind of good hello, how are you? Nice to see you as well. Like very formalized. You know what I mean?
And
With
the wonderful thing
with my
about
uncle
that is
Sacco,
that
he's like my best friend, and we're constantly like hanging out and joking around. Go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
if you were in a room with all of them, you would still be able to do all of those things at the same
All the,
time. And
Exactly.
that's
And
why
literally, I was thinking about a
no.
party when we're all sitting around in the living room, like a Christmas, like a birthday party. Yes. Sorry, Jen. Keep going.
Yeah, and you do it without thinking because that's just your relationship with those people.
As opposed to when we're acting, and let's suppose we're doing a scene where we are the black sheep in the family. We'll probably just play that with every conversation we have. Versus as an actor playing the game, and with this person, I'm going to assume the role of the instigator. So I'll be pushing their buttons. And the game is trying to get them to get angry. But with my grandma, I'm going to play she's the only one who understands me. And so that's a different role. Why are you smiling at me like that, Jen? What?
I feel like it would be very interesting to be your therapist. Because you'd be like, okay, Uncle Taco, and he's a taco, or is he like? It would be very interesting.
Sacco.
I'm sorry, I heard taco. I'm
My
sorry.
Uncle Sacco.
I literally heard Uncle Taco. I love him already.
That is because I have a Latin background. So you just heard what you wanted to hear there, didn't you, Jen?
It's because we keep breaking up. But this,
and you see, this is an example of a great game that we play, where I pretend to be mad at Jen all the time.
Yes, it's true.
And then Jen judges me silently. See,
Well,
this is the game we play.
I'm judging. I'm just trying not to cry.
Hey, so you know what that means? Here is the result of having different roles: conflict, drama. Knowing the game and the roles you play helps you immeasurably to provoke conflict and to create drama.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jen, I want to ask you, in some of the roles that you've played, have you ever tried to play different roles within the same scene?
What do you mean, different roles in the same scene?
So there's 5 people in the scene, and you react differently to all of them. You have different roles depending on who they are. Have you ever done anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, the last production I was in, I had a love interest, and he went away and came back. But when he came back, I was still at work. So I reacted to him coming back, but I couldn't just kind of run and jump into his arms because I was at work and I had a very important position within a society. So I had to act within my limits of all the different roles I was playing.
See, that's another great example. And so if I'm going to think about that on set, here's like another way to think about it. Sometimes you'll see the star of the show and they look like a really nice person, but they might not be nice to you because they don't know you. Do you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, look how chummy this person is with those people. And then you're like, hey, how's it going? They're like, hi. And you're like, okay, I'll just leave you alone then. That is an example of like one person who's a character playing different roles, right? If you're Superman, you're going to react differently to different people, right? Every relationship we have demands a different role in order to be successfully fulfilled. So as an actor, we have to like this. I don't know about you, but and I'd love to hear from you on this, Jen. When we think about creating a relationship with the other person, one of the things we can say, it's what's the role you play to find that relationship.
Yeah, and what I keep thinking of is how actors who haven't embraced all the things that they are and all the roles that they are, they like to label themselves with, oh, I am this and I am this and I'm a nice person. And if you restrict yourself to only having certain characteristics, then you're really restricting your performance as well, and having all those different shades and dynamics with all the different people and all
Well,
the.
you know what? I'm totally. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Am I explaining it properly?
I think so. Try it again.
Um,
Do it with an American accent. Maybe that'll
well,
help.
I I have seen it in class where there was an actor who, admittedly, she was new to it, but she was playing a therapist talking to a client, and I can't remember the scene, but I seem to remember that the client was really trying to press her buttons and to really annoy her, and the therapist was just like comatose, and the teacher was saying, what's happening? And the actress then was just denying that she ever gets upset. And we're like, what? How can you? She said, and she was talking about how many years she'd been married, and she and her husband had never fought. And we went, okay, look, even if we accept that that's a fact, that you have never fought, you can't tell me that you have never felt upset or angry or. And
Yeah.
she sat there and denied it. And I just kept thinking, I don't know what I could cast her in.
It's so funny that
She's
as
a lovely
actors
person.
we tend to defend our choices so strongly. And
Yeah.
we are both members of the Actors Place. We have regular like workshops. We do like weekly sessions, and there's a few people that come all the time, and it's like you have to drag them kicking and screaming. And no matter what you say, they will always defend their choice, even if it's like demonstrably not true. Even if it's like obvious that they need to have some dimension, they still won't go to it. And we were talking about this before, and in the book, he basically does one of his little role plays where he has like this big long conversation with actors, and he talks about this scene with a girl and a nun.
Oh yeah, I love this
And this
one.
is
It's such a great example. Yeah, really is.
And what happens is the woman playing the nun basically, and this is what he says, you played your judgment of a nun. That isn't going to
Yeah.
help me give some dimension to the role. A nun doesn't feel she's disagreeable. A nun doesn't feel that she's a disagreeable taskmaster. Right. So it's like you judge the role you're playing and you're like, no, this is this way. And it's one dimensional, isn't it? Because you're not like going deeper than that.
Mhm. I had actually one of my coaching clients called me recently. He said, I need some help getting my head around this thing. I've been cast in as a man who had raped a child. And he's like, I don't know how to play it. And I said, well, the only way that you can really play it is, or to be it, is totally unapologetic, because this man did not think that he was doing anything wrong. Even if there was a part of him that did have an inkling that he was doing something wrong, you have to be able to defend everything that character has done. I mean,
Yeah, you like if you're playing the child
thirsty,
molester, you can't judge the child molester because you're playing that child molester, right? You have to
and
be
he
like,
has
because we all
100
do this.
reasons why he does it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
and
we
it's
all defend like in our day to day, even when you're at work and you make a mistake at work, you always want to be like, well, I wouldn't have done that if. Like we want to defend ourselves.
and I think one of the issues was that he felt that he would be judged as himself when he wasn't being an actor at home and
Mm.
with his friends. And I said, well, do you really think that that's, people are going to think judge you badly? I went, I don't know.
Well, this actually touches on another point, and I got this. This is one of my general ideas that I got from this chapter, and I wrote it down. It says you have to develop a personal relationship with your character for every role they're playing in the scene or in the show. So if there's a scene where you're in that, let's say it's a show, and we'll just keep on with this negative subject matter. Let's suppose you're a child molester, right? Like probably some of the people in The Crown. Let's suppose that you're playing that part. You have to be able to draw something personal for each role that person plays. So you're one of the rich, famous child molesters in The Crown. Come on, we all know there's got to be some of them that like banged a 15-year-old. Come on, right? When you're rich and powerful, let's just be honest. You don't see that in the show, do you? All you see is, oh, look at me. I have to go out and I don't have the right dress, and he's not here with me.
Here we go with the South
Anyway,
Park again.
yeah. So you have to kind of get to that point where the child molester with a friend, the child molester with their parents, the child molester with their probation, with the lawyer, with the police officer, staring at the mother, with the child. Those are all different roles that one individual would play. And not all of them are a child molester, are they? That is a judgment of the character. That's a person in different circumstances. And that's what the idea of roles is, It doesn't matter what the character is, they're different roles.
I played in a dinner theatre thing that was a kind of a play on Game of Thrones, and I was Cersei. I was a LARPing person.
Oh, you would be
playing.
a great Cersei, actually. I could see you being
So
a Cersei.
I did, and I was a fan of the show, and I did like the character anyway. But I watched. It was only at season 4 at the time, but I watched back through all of it, and I realized how so many people hated her, and at the beginning of the show, to get to our backstage, we had to walk through the restaurant in full costume. And the first day that we did that, we're walking through and people are going, bitch, and they're yelling at me.
Oh.
And I'm like, what do you mean you don't understand? And I thought, oh, this is great because I'm defending her so much. I was really deeply hurt that people yelled at me. And then I kind of got to enjoy it after a while. But yeah, you have to be able to defend whatever you're playing.
And I think Game of Thrones is a great example of characters with different roles. Because there's all these people that you hate that throughout the show, then you become to like them. And people that you like that you become to hate. And then people that you empathize with. And people who are total evil, but then they do nice things. Do you know what I mean? And so you never know how to feel. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Jen, because that's maybe one of the things I really liked about that, is that these were characters that each character through the writing had like 10 different roles. And you never knew how to feel about them because you never knew what role you were going to see. Ooh, that was a good one, Jen. And did you get better?
Like, another
did you get okay
thing
with
about
yelling
that
at
show
you?
is a lack of, so many different accents, and you could be from anywhere. That was one of the things I really liked about the show. Just like Lord of the Rings, you can, there's a lot of insistence.
Yeah, as long as it's like 90% British, you're good to go. Because we it's true, man. There's something about like any of the British accents and Scottish and Irish accents, they any period piece, that's all you need. And then like one guy who's just like, in my country we do not need this, like some guy doing like some kind of crazy weird African or Middle Eastern accent. Here's something that they talk about, and this is an example in the book of like, this is where this is why I feel like he ran out of stuff to say, because we're not talking about roles in games. He just starts going off on tangents in this. So here's some of the tangents he talks about. Looking for romance. An actor must look for, this is all within the roles and playing. He talks about an actor must look for romance. Instead, you look for a rape, because the person says like, what's a strong choice you can make? And the default is rape. I was raped by him. And he's like, really? Well, where does it say that? And he's really talking about script analysis. And he talks about how romance is a very strong choice because there's so many elements to romance. There's the fear of rejection. There's the euphoria of love. There's uncertainty. There's insecurity. I remember the first girl that I like really, really loved, and I used to always say, "Listen, if anything changes, you can dump me because I just want the best for you." And I'm like, man, in that one sentence, I think I've summarized what romance is. It's just like, I need you, but you're too good for me. But I want you, but also like we're perfect together, and I never like. There's so many things that play in that. You guys have never been in love, obviously. Cold as ice.
No, never.
They're looking at me blankly like, I don't know what that means. And then here's another element. Oh, go ahead.
there were a couple of things that I liked about this chapter that he
Mm,
almost like little notes that he suddenly remembered that seems so much more important. Game playing, it's like scorekeeping, upping the stakes to get what you need. And what you need to me is always the thing that I use in my coaching. You know, what do you
mm,
want from the other person? So upping the stakes, changing tactics, becoming a different role in the same
mm.
conversation because you're
Yes.
changing depending on what their reaction is. Talk about tactics a lot. So I feel that there are different ways of kind of saying what he's saying. Um,
Actually, I really love that, and I look because I know that in like real life situations, within the course of a conversation, we might go from subservient to begging to confident to demanding, and those are all different roles you can play. Yeah, I love that. What else,
yeah.
Jen? What other insights did you find?
Well, he talked a little bit about humor, and I think there's always interesting ways of using humor in a scene that isn't necessarily a comedy, and it can
Every
be
scene has humor. That was one of his
like
guideposts. Yeah.
a little twinkle in your eye, you know, as to a different nuance to it. It's very interesting to play with and maybe to see it from the point of view of playing a different role. I don't think I work in that way, but I suppose ways that I do it, you could say that I was doing what Shurtleff is suggesting of being a different role.
I think that is the idea of playing different roles. It's really in my head now, and I think on the next time, if the next time I do an audition, I'm going to think about this because there is that element of I'm different people even with the same person. And
Yeah.
here's another element. Sometimes I don't like the way I am around someone. And so I'll make a conscious effort to be something different in the same, like, for example, I'm in a relationship where I'm not, I feel like I should be breaking up, but I'm not breaking up and I'm being a dick. But then within the course of 5 minutes, I'm like, oh God, you're being such a dick. Be nicer. And then I'll try to be nicer. And that's me changing roles in the moment. And why can't a character in a TV show also do that? We never think about that, right? We think, oh, the scene has this tone. And he talks about tone a lot. Again, he goes off the rails and talks about tone. But a tone can also affect the roles you play, can't it? He says this: the tone of the play. Actors rarely consider the tone of a play. They seem to regard all plays as naturalistic. And this is where he gets a little racist because he starts talking about British and Americans. He gets a little racist here.
Hmm.
All plays have to be written by Eugene O'Neill. Let us try to define tone for actors, which is equivalent of the key to a piece of music. And remember, you were talking about when you're last week, you were talking about attuning your ear to music. That helped you with your accent work. Asking yourself, in which play was the tone written? And he basically goes on to say, British people are really good at finding tone and Americans aren't.
Yeah, he did. He spent a lot of this chapter talking about the lack of comedic skill
Yeah,
in
wit.
American
He talks
poetry,
about
because
wit.
obviously it's totally different from, the last 50 years. I mean, the Americans have produced some of the most incredible comedy and still do. I mean, what's
Mm-hmm.
an American comedy that you enjoy right now on
Pee-wee's
TV?
Playhouse. Oh, right now? I just watched that. That's just some other thing.
Yeah.
I'm watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Great show. Tag that, Tim. Tag that. Put it in the show notes. We talked about it. Walking Dead, The
I've been
Crown.
really
It's Always Sunny
enjoying
in Philadelphia.
uh, Superstore.
I
Oh,
like
Superstar.
I
I
like
thought
that
it was
too. Yeah.
not. Okay, we're going on.
I keep wanting to call it supermarket. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I needed something more uplifting because I tend to be drawn to the really dark dramas more than anything else, and so I saw that one and thought, "What's this?" And yeah, really, really enjoying the
Well,
first
all right.
season.
Let's do this. First of all, everyone, I want you to pause here. And I want you to watch a couple of episodes of Superstore. Then he kind of ends off this chapter with, well, he right before he ends off, he talks about he does a lot more of like why Americans aren't full of wit and British people are. But he does a checklist where he kind of summarizes the other guideposts within this chapter. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read you the context. I'm going to go through the checklist, and I want us all to think if there's a character in Superstore that's like, oh, for sure they do that. Yep, that's a good. They do that in this, because here's the thing: when we're talking about acting, it's just like when people say, like, what's the most traumatic thing? Rape. Like right away. It's like, is it like, is there something more emotionally? You know, I'm not saying it is or isn't, but in the same way, when we think about acting, most actors are thinking about like crying and something super hardcore, or like something really dramatic. But really good acting is also in comedy. So let's use comedy as an example. He talks about this actually. Um, I think The Ruffian on the Stair, that's the name of a play, is one of the funniest plays ever written. And let's use Superstore to see if we can identify these things in Superstore. The game in Loot is basically simple. I can be more outrageous than you about my love for money. So that's kind of like the context of that. And I will do anything to get it. So that's the one line. Note what is in that simple statement. I can be more outrageous than you about my love for money. They're saying the whole play is about that.
Okay.
And it's different. And that's the game they're playing within the play. And then he breaks it down into 12 parts. 1, I'm fighting to have money because then I can have love. Do we see that in Superstore?
Yes. So it's like and I don't remember the characters' names, the main lead guy. He is constantly trying to prove that he's sort of not some preppy college boy, and that he's fine working in the store because he's really attracted to his supervisor.
Number 2, I will kill for it. So number 1, I'm fighting to have money because then I can have love. I will kill for it. And then in brackets, he says importance. Is there importance? Have they made super strong choices about things? I would say yes. I mean, you see, for example, there's
I was thinking the security girl. I can't remember her name
the
either.
security girl. That's exactly the girl. And she's like, everything. She's so
fantastic.
passionate that she was like, what's that? You got someone who didn't point blue and boo? Let's beat the crap out of him. I'll get my gun. Like, she's all about that.
Yeah, she
Strong
goes to the
choice, yeah.
extreme. Very funny.
Then he says, number 3 is, do you mean you will kill for it too? And discovery. Is there moments of discovery? Yes. I think about, like, for example, throughout the course of the season, I watched like 4 or 5 episodes of it. There is like, are you really this hardcore about things? And then with that security lady, you discover that she has more elements and that she wants to have kids and she wants to be a protector. And the symptom of that is her hardcoreness about, like, I'll kill for this job. You know what I mean?
Or did you see the scene with the boyfriend of the worker who's pregnant? How he suddenly becomes kind of like the hero that she didn't think she had at one point. Yeah, that was pretty awesome too.
And so as actors, even as comedic actors, and it's in the writing, but it's also your job to do this as well, is you need to be able to discover things within your character. I'm just a simple man or girl trying to get along in the world, role playing. But I'm really very bright underneath, and I just act dumb. That character, the pregnant girl's boyfriend, is fully. That's that character.
Yeah, and her too, because she's so full of heart, and yeah.
Of course, I'm sexually attracted to others, but I know I'll never get anywhere. This is number 5 with them unless I have loot, unless I have money. I think this is because one of the undertones of Superstore is that these people are all struggling at minimum wage jobs. They're all poor. Like, everyone in the show is poor. They're all working for money. And it's like, and there's an undertone of desperation in a lot of the comedy there.
Yeah, I was thinking of the manager.
Yeah, that manager is like, the job is his whole life. But the single mom, the soon-to-be mom, the boyfriend, all the other characters, they're like all constantly struggling for money. And I think that desperation is part of, they take the desperation and put it into humor, like the things you will do just to have a minimum wage job,
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything you can do, I can do better. That's a big theme in that. There's constant one-upsmanship, especially between the main girl and the main guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. While they're struggling with their mutual attraction, they turn it into like work fights.
They turn it into competition.
Yeah.
And that is the game that they are playing in terms of their relationship.
Definitely, yeah. And it is
I'm
great.
witty and funny. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
It is great writing, which always helps.
Yeah. I think the only thing that they're lacking is some British wit.
Darling, couldn't agree more.
I'm witty and funny, but you're not, is another game. That is a game that is played. And you can see that in Superstore as well, because there's that constantly like someone thinking they're really great and the other person's like, you're not. And they're like, oh, yes, I am. You're not. There's that a lot. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely happens in that. I would say most of the scenes are like that.
Yeah. And I think about like the manager and like that super boss girl who's like the assistant manager and the constant fighting they're having with each other about who is more like in charge. I feel like that really identifies it. Ooh, I have my secrets, and some I'll tell you, and some I won't. Who's got secrets in that show?
Main guy, I would say he has a lot of secrets.
You mean Glenn? Mark McKinney? Thank you, Tim, for that nice one. He's sending it in the chat.
Thank you. Because he so fell in love with her the first day, but he's never told her, has he? I don't remember him telling her.
Not that I've seen.
He's
but then with her,
really.
You think she's going to be a love interest, and then you find out she's a mom, then you find out she has a husband, and then there's that conflict there, right? And that discovery is revealed throughout. And here's another one. I think you can definitely see this. The events are found. This is number 9 in the checklist. The events are found in one-upsmanship. I think in comedy, especially in the show, there's so much one-upsmanship, isn't there?
Well, and that's what I love about that situation of it being in this Superstore is that, I've worked in places where you can't get away from the micromanaging because there's nothing else to do. And it's I remember volunteering. I was volunteering for the backstage at a music festival. Oh, I almost said the name. I don't want to incriminate myself or other people. And it was a volunteer position. And I thought it was going to be great fun. Like a lot of the places I worked for at this particular festival over the years, it was really fun. But I guess in the backstage, there are people that have been volunteer supervisors for a while who thought they were really, really important. Not to say they're not important, but how many times can you be told by different people how to cut up pieces of pineapple to put them on a fruit plate? I mean, honestly, by the end of my first shift of 4 hours, I was thinking if this was my job, I would quit right now.
Yeah, I've been there.
To go through that your whole life. Oh, my goodness.
And well, you know what? This is a great example. And this goes to the next point, because now in the checklist, we finally get to place, which is number 10, which was the 10th guide place, right? He's going through all the guideposts here. And the fact that you were volunteering in that kitchen cutting pineapples and you were trying to do them the right way so this jerk off doesn't like, excuse me, I thought we discussed that you need to cut him like this. You know what I mean?
Literally, it was every 10 minutes, it would be another way that you were totally wrong and you had to do it this other way.
Oh my God. And if we think about Superstore, isn't the Superstore itself a character in the show? Isn't that the place that they're in is completely affecting the conversations and the relationships that are developed?
Yeah. And all the stuff about the signage and I mean, hilarious, what these people have to put up with, very uninspiring job.
And it brings us to this point, the competition. Because they compete with each other for this terrible job that none of them want to do it better than other people. And they're competing to be like, no, I am good enough for this job, even though none of them want the job. And that location and then that game that they play allows for conflict. So even with like a very, and then he makes another note, the number 12 on the checklist is perversity is the keynote. I didn't read this part. Hold on. I'm going to read this to you. See if we can find this in Superstore. Perversity is the keynote. I do everything the opposite of everyone else.
What's the main guy's name again? I got to look it up in the chat.
Hold on. I got you. Hold on. Tim sent it to me. Ben Feldman.
Oh, Ben. Yes. he definitely does that.
The
I feel
idea is
like
I do everything
he does a
opposite
lot
than
of
everyone else.
yeah, he does a lot of contorting within himself to try and be attractive to his supervisor, and yeah,
And,
it's so interesting what they do with themselves.
and when we think about perversity, think about the hardcore store manager, not the manager, but the assistant manager. She does things completely different than everyone else because she takes it way too seriously and no one takes it seriously enough.
The
You know what I mean?
security
And then you have
girl,
the security lady, yeah. And
yeah.
then the manager himself, he's also perverse because he cares so much about this job that no one else cares about. So there's another perversity there in terms of them doing things differently than everyone else. And I guess what we're trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, is that Superstore is the modern Hamlet, King Lear of our time. This show encompasses everything that it means to be human in today's day and age. Unlike The Crown, which is about a bunch of rich people complaining about being rich and talking down to other people who totally understand everything anyway.
Helena Bonham
But
Carter.
apparently it's a good show. Who?
Helena Bonham Carter. That was Prince Margaret.
Who's that?
That was the one that we couldn't remember her name. She plays Prince
Oh
Margaret.
no, I was thinking of the one who played it before her.
Oh.
Who played Margaret before her in the first couple of seasons? Yeah.
Yeah, they probably hated working there so much they quit.
I think wasn't it the show that has spent the most money per episode ever?
I think so.
Actually, that I believe that Crown, it might have been, but most recently, WandaVision has been the most expensive per episode movie TV show ever produced. WandaVision.
Wow,
WandaVision. If you got HBO and if you like Marvel movies, WandaVision.
I like to
What do
see
you like?
I like to see where the money's being spent.
It's being spent on WandaVision.
Guys, $25 million per episode on WandaVision.
Really?
That's a movie. That's several movies. Come on. That's ridiculous.
Wow.
Crazy.
And I mean, it's okay.
Are they shooting in Toronto? That's all.
No, I wish. They're probably shooting in Atlanta. I bet you anything they're shooting in Georgia because that's like where a lot of places. Huh?
Maybe Ottawa.
I was debating finding an agent in Georgia. They're like, hey, you want to be my agent in Georgia? But we can't actually go. We can't actually leave the country right now. So there you go. Well, my friends, that is it for today's episode. Jennifer Vallance, if we could leave the audience with some advice on how using games and roles, some advice on how to help them with auditions, what are some things you would advise actors to? How can they use these tools?
I think first of all, just recognize that you're doing it in your life already. Observe yourself, and then bring those sort of new tips that you have in your head when you're preparing for your auditions, and see how they can apply to the people in your scene and during the scene, how they change.
I love that because I wanted to say, if I was going to summarize it for everyone, I would say, while you're rehearsing, experiment with different roles. Give yourself 10 different roles to play. Whether you're the person in charge, the wealthiest, the most confident, the least confident, the subservient one, the caregiver, the instigator. Like, pick a bunch of different roles and do that one scene with all those roles. Not to find the right one, but to find dimension in your character. And then throw it all away when you're performing if someone gives you something different in the performance. And don't be afraid to change roles in the middle of your audition piece. Like Jen was saying, we change roles we can change roles in a conversation. Don't be afraid to do that when you're performing and creating a character.
Yeah. And work with a coach who can, see things with an outside eye always helps.
And speaking of coaching with an outside eye, I, of course, want to talk about Jennifer Vallance. Thank you so much for being here today. If people want to get some virtual coaching or they want to work on their British accent, where can they reach you, madam?
They can find me on Facebook, message me there, Jennifer Vallance, or they can email me at jennyfantastic@live.com. Jenny Fantastic.
Jenny Fantastic.
Yeah.
JennyFantastic@live.com is the email address. Jennifer Vallance will have her links in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today, madame.
So fun. Thank you very much, Tim and Yvonne.
Tim will be working on his British accent, but if you want any advice on how to record a podcast, or you want someone who can help you with your audio production and video production, both in person and virtually, check out radioradio.com. Radioradio.com, when Tim will give you all the advice and help you need, even for your new podcast, Jen.
Yes,
Maybe you
exactly.
can think about hiring the mighty Tim McClarty. You can discuss it. Website versus coaching.
You
Maybe
won't
do a
be able to
little
get a hold of him
échange.
anymore. He's going to be working with me.
Sounds good.
That's right. He's going to be working with you.
And he'll have a
I-
different accent by then too.
Jolly good.
He'll say,
So,
"Oh,
ladies and
Yvonne,
gentlemen,
I remember
That's right.
you, Ivan."
I remember you, Ivan. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today on The Lazy Actor. You're all a bunch of lazy bastards. Please pick up the book, Audition by Michael Shurtleff. Give it a read. Next episode, we will be finally covering the final guidepost, Mystery and Secret.
I love that one.
Well, maybe we'll have you back for it.
Such an important
Maybe we'll have
one.
you back next episode. We'll see. We'll
Yeah, have
see.
me back.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, evening, jour, months, or as the British say, life.
Well, first of all, we have the end of the day. We have twilight.
Oh,
Before the-
twilight.
Yes.
Before the night. I will see you on the next harvest moon, the next fortnight, the next whatever British thing there is. Ooh, that's hard to maintain it. Thank you all so much. Thank you for joining The Lazy Actor. If you want to come and join one of our virtual acting workshop sessions, or you want to check out our blog with lots of information for people who want to be actors, go to theactorsplace.org. In the show notes, theactorsplace.org. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Tim. And we will see you all next time.
Thank you. Have fun, everyone.